Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's chapter review of Toriko 347. Now, this chapter was simple and provided us with some very interesting information. The first part I want to discuss is the seven beasts and the gourmet knights, which was basically I guess you would say, the main focus of the chapter. We find out that what they basically have to do is, in order to get the ingredients or the materials for the golden cookware, they have to pull on the object with all their might without stopping for 6 days straight. 6 days on the surface, that is. Because, as we know, time flows differently for the seven beasts, because they are are back channels. Now, we also already learned that time moves. Now, let's see, the confusing part about the translation is they keep saying that, time's moving faster outside. But in fact, time is moving faster inside. That's why, time inside of these beasts, one in terms of the giant shell, 1 minute inside the shell is 1 second outside the shell, or the surface world, as they'd like to call it. Now, that would mean that the person who's obtaining the material from the giant shell will have to spend nearly a year, 360 days, pulling on what he needs to get. Which is insane when you think about it, because the fact that that amount of stamina is required is amazing. Would be like, no one, I don't think anybody could imagine being able to withhold with only 6 days worth of food to be able to survive. Which I guess makes it good that the gourmet knights are here, because they can survive for very long periods of time without food. However, we find out that the other seven beasts are different, and that the time of flow is even faster, 10 times that, which means that the ones obtaining materials from the other ones will have to pull for 10 years. 10 years straight with all their might for 10 years. That is a whole new level of impossible feats. And this gives me a whole new respect for the gourmet knights, that they're going to be doing this. We also find out that since they are from the surface world, they will age at the rate of the surface world. So even though their body will experience 10 years of, being on the seven beasts for 10 years, on the surface, they've only been on there for 6 days, so they'll only age by 6 days. Now, of course, as we all know, stress ages one's body. So, obviously, the stress of doing these tasks could possibly make them age. But in the traditional sense of, 10 years pass, you're 10 years older. No, they won't be 10 years older. They'll feel 10 years older, but they won't be. So, that is some next level stuff. And as of now, Blue Grill, it's been 3 days since they left in Blue Grill time, which for those who are on the other seven beasts, it's been a month. Which on the surface world hasn't even been it hasn't even been a day yet on the surface world. So now, in terms of the next thing we learned was Komatsu gets stopped by the mysterious woman who saved Chaco, which we all pretty much figured it was his mom, and we found this was confirmation that she was used as fertilizer because her body had an imperfection, but because her soul made a name for herself in the soul world as a good cook, they recently, keyword recently, brought her back to life by, putting her soul in a new body. And because it's been recent, her eyes still haven't adjusted yet, but since she was blind in her previous life, she's, used to it and doesn't mind it. But this has given her a good sense of smell, which is why she's able to tell that Komatsu was with Chako. So, but then again, I highly doubt her sense of smell is better than Toriko's, because freaking Toriko can smell everything, can smell a particular spot and tell every single creature that has ever passed by that spot for for the past couple centuries. So that's some, next level shit. Now, the final thing we also see the various people in the group helping out with the cooking of God. We have Chin Chin, who's using his food immersion to give to be fertilizer for God, and even he's having trouble keeping up with the amount of drainage. So all the cooks are focused on making food for him so he could, keep it up. We also see that Match is stirring the pot, which I don't know why they need a different person, but whatever. And he's just saying, just from stirring the pot, it's draining so much of his energy. And just it's shocking. So the idea that it requires this man just to stir a piece of a small piece of a fragment of God, it makes it like almost impossible to fathom just the level of stamina and just the mystique behind cooking the real God, the full God. Now, the final thing that we learned in this chapter was that apparently Ichiru's Don Slime has made that the body we saw of Ichiru is actually not the original body, but a copy of the body, which looks to be a copy of his body as it was in its prime. However, the judge of the soul world, for some reason, can't find Ichiru's soul. So what could that possibly mean? That could mean a multitude of things. One, he doesn't want to be found because he doesn't want to be revived. He wants to leave everything up to his kids, which is why Don Slime looks different at the end of all this, because maybe they instead choose to revive Don Slime, so Don Slime could physically manifest himself in the real world to fight Neo, which is, I guess, why it makes sense. So that's my theory. I guess many people probably would have come up with that theory, but another possibility could be, some wide-out theory that maybe his soul something happened, like his soul was erased even from the soul world, so it could no longer be brought back or something, or maybe it was when he died, his spirit became a food demon, and now it's a food demon that's unrecognizable. Maybe he somehow transferred his soul to another body or something. Who knows? But I'm sticking with the idea that most people have, and that's that Ichiru doesn't want to come back, so he's made himself not findable in the soul world. Which is, again, why I believe that Don Slime looks different, because I think they revive him, because at the beginning of the chapter, or this arc, we see when, Don Slime is introduced, we find out that he can't be seen he's the king, but there are people in the Blue Grill who can't see food spirits, so by extension can't see him. So, since food spirits can't really affect things in the real world, and Neo is nearly revived, and he's a physical manifestation, that means he can only be fought with a physical manifestation. So I believe that what's the result of this arc is going to be is the capture of another and the revival of Don Slime. So that's my thoughts. And hope you all enjoyed this review, and hope to see you all next week.